Good morning, everybody. I think we can start. We are having 4 apologies. Honorable Kaba, Honorable Mute, and Honorable Hendricks. And we are going to have NICOC presenting. My ambassador, the last time we were in a meeting with NICOC, you had one of your members not feeling well. And how is she? Didn't you say last time when you came that one of your members was taken to the hospital?
Yes, she's that lady there, Mama, she's the one who was taking care of her, but she's now okay.
Is it?
It's just been, she went back to hospital, but they took care of her. I think she started to work yesterday.
Okay. So I show motho a go tlhola re re hey o ka re modimo a ka dia ka bo mo re tla ra jana. Okay, I think we are ready to start, and we expect a briefing by NICOC on its input into the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Bill, GILAB or GILAB. Can I then hand over to you, Ambassador?
Yeah, good morning, Chairperson and members of the committee. This venue it complicates my life. We're used to that other venue. But yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson, and members of the committee.
And maybe can I warn you that this is an open meeting?
Oh, it is an open meeting,
That's right.
so I can't discuss secrets. Am I allowed to discuss secrets? Chairperson?
No.
I'm not. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. I would really like to express my sincere gratitude to the committee for inviting us to make a submission regarding the ongoing GILAB process. We do not take this opportunity lightly. Hence, we have spent some time interrogating the draft bill with a particular emphasis on the mandate of NICOC. Chairperson and members of the committee, allow me to quote rather verbatim one of the important observations of the 2018 high-level panel review on SSA, which was led by Professor Sidney Mufumadi. This quote is extracted from page 85 of the report, and it goes as follows. I quote, "It is important to understand the crucial place that NICOC occupies in the overall intelligence value chain, at least as conceived by the founders of our constitutional democracy and post-apartheid intelligence dispensation. It is supposed to be the key interface between the agencies that collect intelligence and the clients who need to make use of it, ensuring all source input into the intelligence picture, and effective processing and evaluation of the assessment product that goes to the policymakers. It is against this backdrop that we felt that the mandate of NICOC was either usurped, neglected, or undermined. Proposals to reinstate the fundamental constitutional imperative were made to the draft bill. Our approach was not to tamper with the mandate or proposals by the State Security Agency, rather to ensure that the mandate of NICOC is not fiddled with, as well as to guard against the possible repeat of history, albeit in the legislated manner this time around. Chairperson, during the reign of fourth administration, one Minister of Intelligence attempted to reduce NICOC into a new unit within his office. I guess that's the history I'm referring to. Of course, that was illegal, the same illegal way that SSA was created through a proclamation instead of national legislation. In this regard, Chairperson and honorable members of the committee, we did submit inputs to the SSA team that was working on the legislation. However, some inputs were omitted, maybe not deliberately. So my expression of gratitude for this opportunity is informed by the understanding that had we not been given an opportunity, some critical interventions in terms of us giving inputs would not have been considered. We know and understand that the JCI would like NICOC to have more powers, particularly in relation to those national intelligence structures that do not comply with the legislative mandate. I wish to give my assurance that once the process of regulation has been finalized, we will have the necessary legislative avenue to address matters of non-compliance. As you would remember, Chairperson, some of the challenges which have been faced by NICOC, where it depends who is in charge, as a DG would decide to give information, the intelligence to NICOC, and sometimes they would then withhold the information. Without further ado, Chairperson, allow my team to take you through the inputs we have made regarding the draft bill. Thank you very much. I'm going to, through you, Chairperson, ask Dr. Sifulu to take you through some of the observations and the changes which we thought might needed to be made. Through you, Chairperson, can I ask Dr. Sifulu to take us through? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Coordinator. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honored members of the Ad Hoc Committee, good morning. I would just take from where the Coordinator left off and indicate that we focused more on the mandate of inputs rather than, mandate of NICOC in terms of inputs rather than just focusing on the entire bill, which does not necessarily impact on us. So with regard to the bill, it's just that I'm struggling to work this since it's a PDF, but our point of focus is amendment of Section 2 of National Strategic Intelligence Act as amended by Section 2 of Act 37, and as well as 67, as well as that of 2013. Chairperson, honored members of the committee, we make a submission there based on the observation that the proposals made have deleted or omitted to include the original mandate of the State Security Agency, which is to supply intelligence regarding any such threat or opportunity to NICOC. So we have then thought that we need to reinstate that mandate as it was conceived in the white paper and in the original acts. The reason being there is also a strategic indication by Section 4 of the Strategic Intelligence Act that says we must coordinate intelligence supplied by the services. Now, if you do not include this aspect, then it will mean that SSA is not among those services that are supposed to provide intelligence to NICOC. Hence, then the submission and the proposal is to include that as it is indicated in red. Now, if we move again to another area of consideration, again with the same section, Section 2, it is X in the bill, in the draft bill, where it says there must be a provision of periodic national security briefings to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, members of cabinet, premiers, parliamentary presiding officers, and Chief of Justice. Again, Chairperson, honourable members of the committee would like to indicate that such proposal is contradictory to the Section 4 provisions in terms of the mandate of NICOC, where only NICOC becomes the only entity that talks to cabinet. So we have then said it is correct for them to find a way of briefing the JSCI and other areas, but when it comes to cabinet, that mandate should remain because it is there anyway for NICOC. But then it would mean if SSA goes and briefs cabinet, what then happens when NICOC goes to brief cabinet? And if SSA alone goes to brief cabinet, then is the sub-CI also going to be afforded the same opportunity? Is the defense intelligence also going to be afforded the opportunity? Whereas under the NICOC, then everyone else is incorporated and there is no conflict in terms of who briefed cabinet with what information. And also there is no safeguard in terms of the contradictory information that might be given by SSA to the cabinet and then come NICOC with another information. So that is another safeguard that we are giving, that coordinated information remains a key in terms of the mandate of NICOC and to avoid any other mishaps with regard to the intelligence services briefing cabinet in their singular format. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honourable members of the committee. I would like now to move to another proposal in terms of amendment of Section 4 of the Act. That is now what talks to NICOC, particularly on Section 5. The proposal there, you will recall, Chairperson, this proposal that we are making in terms of a proposal that is, if you allow me, if you go there, what is on the screen, the proposal for NICOC to co-opt private security industry regulator. So we have then decided to start by opening up a space for it right at the beginning of Section 4, where the area of co-option is allowed. What we have done, Chairperson, is to try and avoid a situation where you will have to list all the entities that you are co-opting in the legislation. An example would be, Chairperson, CIRA, the private security regulator. You will find that it is actually an entity that is under Schedule 3, the same way as the SIU, the same way as the Financial Intelligence Center, the same way as the South African Revenue Service. So those are entities that we can co-opt anytime at NICOC. But listing one of them and removing others might create a problem because you are bringing now in a legislation. So the manner in which we can try and avoid such a legislative challenge would be to just say there in red, where we are then saying what will then do, will that part of the membership of NICOC would include alternates of the said persons and such members of departments of state and other relevant stakeholders as and when the need arises. The addition of relevant stakeholders, Chairperson and other members of the ad hoc committee, is to avoid a situation where each time you want to co-opt somebody, you will say it's not provided by the legislation, therefore you must then amend the legislation in order to co-opt someone. So that is a proposal that we are making. So if we move now again to the next proposal, Chairperson, again on Section 4, you will recall, Chairperson, that in the proposal that is made, it then says the minister must appoint, I'm trying to work this out, The minister must appoint members or persons who will provide coordination and administrative support to NICOC on such conditions of employment and security requirements as are applicable to members of the intelligence services. That, Chairperson and honored members of the committee, is a bit of a challenge because it now does not include the coordinator who is appointed by the president and is the chairperson of the committee. And therefore, it means the staff in the office of the coordinator is not determined by the coordinator, is determined by the minister. We have a bit of history when it comes to that because subjectivism sometimes might kill the mandate of NICOC or the functioning of NICOC. Hence, the proposal that is made without revealing quite a lot, Chairperson, would be to say the coordinator with the approval of the minister. Now there the minister is available, the coordinator is available, so there is no malice there. The coordinator with the approval of the minister must appoint members or persons who will provide coordination and administrative support to the office of the coordinator. This emphasis on the office of the coordinator, honorable members of the ad hoc committee as well as chairperson, is in line with what the coordinator indicated, that certain inputs were submitted but may have been ignored, not necessarily because of malice, maybe because they fell through the cracks, because this process has been very long, Chairperson. But the proposal that we must always differentiate between NICOC as the committee. We should remember that NICOC is the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee and consists of the DGs of the State Security Agency, the Chief of Defense, as well as the Divisional Commissioner of Sub-CI Crime Intelligence. Now, if you are saying you are going to appoint members for NICOC, those members are already appointed in terms of the Act, and they are clearly distinguished there. But what then gets to be appointed are members and persons that must give support to the office of the coordinator. So that's why it's important to indicate that is the office of the coordinator, the same way as we have the office of the Inspector General. So that is the emphasis that we are making there, so that there is a clear distinction that these members are providing support to the office of the coordinator. So the proposal that is there in red is what is being given. And then again, Honorable Chairperson and members of the ad hoc committee, we want to indicate that there is another proposal that the minister may determine the organizational structure and grading of posts for functioning of NICOC in terms of Intelligence Services Act 202. Of course, Intelligence Services Act 202 does allow the minister that function of grading the posts, but the important aspect of it is that the minister, how will the minister determine the organizational structure and grading of the post without speaking to the coordinator or understanding what the coordinator wants in his office or in her office? Hence, it becomes important that the coordinator may determine the organizational structure and grading of the post in the office of the coordinator for functioning of NICOC, but then the minister then must approve, because that approval is given to the minister in terms of the legislation. So we are just saying at least let the coordinator have that important role of determining the capacity of the office so that he or she will be able to execute the functions and then get the approval of the minister, of course, when doing that. And then as I go to the last aspect, Chairperson, just to indicate that that line I've already touched on, to just show that the co-option is covered in the very first section, or section 4. Chairperson, honored members of the committee, the aspect that the budget of NICOC shall be appropriated by Parliament as part of the budget vote of the intelligence services and shall be expended in accordance with the rules and procedures set out in the Public Finance Management Act is a critical aspect of it. We support that. We did make inputs to that extent. But what then becomes a bit of a problem is that if we leave it as it is, when we say the budget of NICOC, then it means you are saying the budget of the committee. And now the committee, as we had indicated before, consists of those 5 members that are legislated, and it talks to persons, not departments. It says these are the members. But then the burden that is given for management and administration of the functioning of the functions of the committee is given to the coordinator by the president in section 5, where the president must appoint the coordinator, and then the coordinator is given that responsibility of managing the functions. Therefore, it then means that it would be important not to say the budget of NICOC, but to say the budget of the office of the coordinator shall be appropriated by Parliament as part of the budget vote of the intelligence services. This matter, Chairperson, is very critical because currently the status quo is such that if the DG of SSA does not have enough funds, then it means the coordinator will also not have enough funds. Since the current section, which is subsection 3, says the agency shall support NICOC with the logistics and technical expertise. Now, it then means you will not have a ring-fenced budget to say you cannot touch that budget because it belongs to the office of the coordinator. So what it means is that if the entity that we are dependent on expands its budget, it means then you will also suffer the same fate regardless of the work or the magnitude of the work that would be required to do. Chairperson, honorable members of the committee, those are the few additions and proposals that we would like to make to the current process of GILAB. Thank you very much. I submit.
Before I give to the ambassador, maybe if you repeat the difference, the budget of NICOC and the budget of the office of the coordinator. I'm not sure whether I understood or what would be the difference there.
Perhaps let me put it this way, Chairperson. Chairperson, NICOC is the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee, and it consists of the DGs of different entities that are those services that are highlighted in the legislation. Now, NICOC as the committee does not have a budget because these DGs are heads of departments of their respective areas, and then they are accounting officers or in their respective areas. So then NICOC does not have a budget, but the coordinator's office is the one that requires budget for the administration, including the appointment of the staff and all those things. So that is why then the budget of the office of the coordinator is a proposal. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
I think now, now I get it. My ambassador?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. I guess Dr. Sifolo has explained quite a bit. But let me indicate, Chairperson, that in my opening remarks, I did allude to the fact that at some point, NICOC, or the office of the coordinator, was almost reduced to a section in the office of the minister. I think if the minister concerned had powers, he would have dissolved everything because he just wanted few people in his office and the rest must just go to Musanda. So we then thought it was important that that kind of history should not repeat itself. Because when I was appointed chairperson in 2017, when I got there, I found NICOC in disarray. And you'll remember, chairperson, I think the first time I came to the JSCI, the members of the committee who were there, they said to me, we're about to kick you out and send you away just like your predecessors. It's because of the challenges which NICOC has really been facing in the past in terms of the meddling, particularly by the ministers, who then wake up and decide to bring staff and dump the staff into NICOC and all sorts of things. So it's important, Chairperson, not for myself, but for the future and stability of NICOC and the office of the coordinator, that the functions and responsibilities should remain as such, and nobody should actually be able to, by a stroke of a pen, decide to say, this is what is going to happen. So, Chairperson, in terms of the proposals which we've brought in here, we thought that we needed the support of JSCI, but that's why we're really glad that we were given an opportunity to come and present before the committee. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Yeah, no, maybe if I was to start before I open up to the members, what would be the difference if you say the budget of NICOC must be reinforced? And if you say the budget of the Office of the Coordinator, would there be any difference? Members, I saw Honorable Kolabanat followed by Honorable Mokwanisa.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder if I could ask through you, Chair, perhaps our Calvin could remind us all, over the years, we have called in on numerous occasions for various bits of regulation to strengthen the NICOC. And I'm sort of trying to cast my mind back, but we've said, no, that can't work like that. That can't work like that. We've raised this a number of times in our committee. Do we perhaps have a list of the proposals that we made in relation to NICOC over the years? I think that would assist us greatly, because a lot of what is being said has actually, I think, been raised and discussed by us. So if we have a full list of what the decisions we said that has got to happen, now's our chance to put it in the legislation. But I would need a full list of what we had determined in the committee. Thank you.
I was thinking that maybe that can be done in our deliberations. And then we get all of those. And
just to follow up there, Chair, I think it would be important for us to have the conversation with NICOC, saying we're proposing, we think this proposal might assist. They may disagree completely. So I just thought those kind of pieces that we thought we should focus on, and many of them have now been covered by the presentation, but I in the recesses of my mind some years ago, I think we've come up with more proposals that I think we should run past NICOC.
okay. I think we can still do that after the deliberations, maybe when it goes to the...
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to everybody. No, I have only one question. I think under 3, appointment of staff, the rationality of having the minister appointing staff, all the staff, for the office of the coordinator. Does it mean that the minister will have to approve even for the appointment of PAs and the most junior officers? Is it desirable to have it like that, or we might consider having the most senior staff, but the discretion to appoint operational and junior staff be left to the coordinator? I mean, I can't foresee a situation where a person's PA might be appointed by somebody else. Thank you, Chair.
My understanding is that you agree with their proposal.
If I may, Chair, but still the minister would need to approve. So my problem is there, I think maybe if there's a delineation, because the most, for instance, your PAs, why would the minister need to approve a PA?
Honorable Stebe.
Thank you, Chair. I think these proposals is very positive. I also had a problem with the minister there, but then maybe the coordinator with the approval of the minister somewhere, the appointed people must be taken to a higher elevation, and they are trying to get out of the office of the DG And then maybe the minister is the next person that must approve. But I think the process must be wholly the process of the coordinator and only the approval by the minister. That's how I hope it's in this way that I'm reading it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just a quick question, that in that very section of appointment of staff, the word may has been used, and I'm trying to think myself as to whether has there been a thought that that word might lead to some strong limitations in the exercise. That if you say the coordinator may determine, that doesn't necessarily mean then the coordinator must determine.
Yeah, no, you see, if I agree with the proposal, because if the minister appoints, then it means the minister can fire. And I think that is what is happening also in the office of the IGI. And that wouldn't be fair. If the minister can come into NICOC and fire somebody, I think it's a bit dangerous. So, well, the legal gurus may tell us about the may and the must. Honorable Kolabana?
If through you, if I could ask NICOC, why did you not put must? You're trying to strengthen yourselves, and yet you here are giving the minister the final say in the matter. I think you must draw it up, and it must be a tick box exercise for the minister. Absolutely, if he spots someone he thinks is outrageous, he has to raise it with you, but it's your job, not his job. And I think we have to be very clear about that. So I agree, absolutely, it should be must. The coordinator must determine the structure, and then, you know, the minister can oversee it to see that it's not outrageous. But I think it's their position, it's not the minister's position. So I agree, absolutely, that should be changed to must.
I think that is our our understanding. Because as we deal with this legislation, I think the best thing is, as my ambassador did when he opened, we must always go back to say, why are we doing this? If we forget, then we are in trouble. And the trouble that we saw, we don't want it repeated. That's exactly why we are doing this. And I should think we mustn't compromise on some of these things, because we were all there and we saw what happened. And so we must be firm on some of these things. Honorable Stebe.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to go back to the first change there in 2BA, the function of the agency shall. The proposal there is to insert supply intelligence regarding any such threat or opportunity to NICOC. And I think it was said that some information fell through, that didn't go through NICOC. And I think there's also, they must. And that's not only the agency, but it's also the police and defense intelligence. That information must come to NICOC through the people who serves on NICOC and not be kept for themselves. I think because the the end result that we want out of NICOC is to assist the whole of government, the JACI, all the people in the security cluster. So I think they must also not just supply, must supply. That's my feeling. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the legal gurus shall tell us about shall, may, must, so that we have a clear understanding of the differences of those terms. And if I was to quote myself, if that is allowed, I always say NICOC is like a baby, beautiful without teeth. So I think what we are trying to do here is to give them a bit of teeth, even if it's milk teeth, but at least that will be teeth. Okay, over to you, my ambassador.
Yeah, okay, Chair. Maybe let me just hand over to Mr. Masamola and then I'll hand over to Dr. Sifo, then I'll be the last.
Thank you, Corneta. Good morning, Chairperson and members of the ad hoc committee. I'll just comment on the issue of the appointments that may be determined by the minister. I think the ideal situation, we agree that probably the coordinator must appoint. But I think the ideal situation is when NICOC actually has a final say in terms of when it determines who gets appointed, who gets promoted, who gets demoted. The current situation is that we can advertise the post, interview, appoint. But the final say will still go back to SSA through the appointments board, who may say that we think that probably here you should have appointed this person. And that is a serious problem, because then what it means is the signature of the coordinator who's at the DG level can be basically somebody at SSA at HR level can basically say, no, this is not. It's the same as when we talk about performance or IPMSs. We can determine who gets bonuses, who gets basically who gets a 3, who doesn't get what. But the final say, what they call it a bell curve, may be determined by the SSA. Again, you see a situation where top management at NICOC has decided in terms of these are our best performers. These are the people who think they must be rewarded based on their work. But the final say will still go to the accounting office, who may say, no, I think you've in terms of bell curve, which the whole organization falls under, may say, no, I think NICOC may reduce few people. And I think if we get those powers, basically it will mean that the coordinator, staff, and people will know that if they perform and they are rewarded, that when that list leaves NICOC, that list is final. But at the moment, it can be tampered with. I think I would just add on that. But I think if we are, the coordinator, the office of the coordinator is given powers to determine such decisions, that will actually now give us those milk teeth, Chairperson. Thank you.
You said in terms of what? In terms of what?
Appointments. The appointments board, are you referring to that one? At Musanda. Basically, there's an appointment board which looks at, I think the intention was to look at fairness in terms of the processes at Musanda there, but it extends to what we call spending centers. So what then happens if, for instance, at NICOC, when we have advertised our positions, because most of our HR functions is basically centralized at Musanda, then what will then happen is we'll provide a list of proposed appointed candidates, but that board will have a final say. And sometimes it can actually overrule the decision that was taken by NICOC. And what is a bit unfair is that you'll find the very same people that are taking that decision were never part of those panels or the panel at NICOC.
Do you want to clarify this one or can on this point? Okay.
Point. Just to get clarity, because and correct me if my assumption is wrong. In any given structure, senior people are the ones that upgrade or evaluate performance of their subordinates. Now, what I'm getting from what you are saying is as if the senior evaluates, but somebody else elsewhere makes a final decision to say yes or no, although that person does not report to the individual. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, thank you very much. Through you, Chairperson. Currently, the situation is very problematic and abnormal. The coordinator is at the level of a DG. I'll tell you, for an example, in my office, I can't even approve a PA. It will have to go to Musanda. But then what happens when we have advertised posts? Posts get advertised through Musanda, SSA, and the people who then come and assist us, the HR, they're called HR consultants, come from Musanda. They sit with the team, interviews are done, and the team decides these are the best candidates. Then it goes back to Musanda. Musanda, there's what is called a PBMA, placement board. They then decide, no, we are not happy about this. Despite the fact that everything has already been approved by myself, or I have recommended and said this is what we want, they then say, they overrule my decision. And those people are far much lower in terms of rank, because I'm at that level of a DG. But you get somebody who's an assistant director who sits in that board, who overrules my decision. That goes again, even in terms of the budget. My budget is the budget of the Office of the NICOC is determined at Musanda. So it creates all sorts of manner of problems. If I can indicate, Chairperson, for an example, we've advertised posts. We want to have editors. 2 people would come and to help us with it because the people who assisted us had gone on retirement. It has taken us forever. And we deal with a lot of documents which have got to go to Cabinet, they've got to go to National Security Council, they've got to go to clusters. So what happens is that my team sits and do editing instead of us having somebody, but the process is stuck at Musanda. So it's an abnormality which is really happening, which definitely undermines the office of the coordinator. So somebody junior can decide, I don't like what these people have decided. That's exactly where the challenge is. The ideal situation is that it's for NICOC or office to be independent, even in terms of determining our budget, moving forward, in appointment of the staff. But currently it's just lopsided because everything is happening in Musanda. And as I indicated, depends on who is the DG at that particular time. He or she might decide, no, NICOC will wait. Whatever happens, they'll be considered after some time. So that's the abnormality. I guess, Chair, that's what you're saying, that NICOC is a beautiful baby without teeth, even if it can have milk teeth, but we don't want milk teeth. We want real teeth, because it's about the future of this institution, not necessarily about individuals. We come and go. At some point, I'll be gone. But if we don't correct this situation, it will come back to haunt whoever it will be appointed even in future. Thank you, Chair. Maybe because I was just responding to that, and unless I've managed to respond to you.
Still on this one, because we had a few questions, but we are on this one. Okay, Honorable Magwanisa, followed by Honorable Stebe and Honorable Kolapa.
Chair, I am, maybe our legal advisor can advise, because I am thinking about a situation where a person is recommended by NICOC, and that body, the board, decides to take somebody else, and that person takes government to court because that board was not part of the interviews, the decisions become irrational and arbitrary. It's irrational and arbitrary. It will take one person and then we're going to be in trouble. I mean, if you look at the Arthur Fraser case, I mean, the judgment, it alluded to that the parole board had recommended that this person is not granted parole, and then he overruled it, and it was found to be illegal. So I think maybe the legal advisor might need to advise us, but I think we are on dangerous ground.
Honorable Stebe.
Chair, yes, I think what Honorable Kola Barnard said in the beginning, that we had our deliberations in the JCI on the way that we see forward, way forward for NICOC and the Office of the Inspector General, where there's more independence, that they're not so dependent on the SSA per se. And I think maybe if we get those part of our deliberations that we had afterwards, and we're going to talk about it, we might find some stuff that we might include here in the way that we saw it, which will strengthen the office of the coordinator. Thank you.
Honorable Colaban.
Thanks, Chair. I think, and I had frankly no idea it was this bad, that we have the tail wagging the dog. I mean, it's a ridiculous situation that they find them. It's exactly the situation the ICD found itself in before it became the IPID. So is there some way that we can include, all right, make the relevant changes according to all the decisions we've taken over the years, but is there some way, and we'd need the legal advice here, of saying that it should be like this until such time as legislation can be produced to make this entity independent? Because that's obviously, it's the essence of the problem. They're not answering to a G. You've got juniors overriding a DG. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. It's unheard of. And yet, obviously, this is what's happening. Anything to undermine them, because they might actually crack the whip, which is what they should be doing. And one can actually see, and what's very interesting to me is they gave input to the SSA, who then promptly removed it. Now, if that's not protecting your own territory and gatekeeping, I don't know what is. So I think it's something we have to be very mindful of as we go through. Every entity is going to try and protect its own turf, but this cannot be allowed, because it's exactly what the SAPs did in terms of the IPID previously. So I absolutely agree. We need to go through line by line and make sure that they get as much independence as we can give them in terms of this legislation, but mindful of the fact that they need their own independent entity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I should think we must remind ourselves from time to time as members that we are the ones that come up with legislation. Surely we are not going to ask anybody. It means it's us who are going to make it happen. So all we can say is that we will keep on asking them. If they think of something else, input, they can send it through so that we make this thing work. And we'll go back and say, when was the high-level review panel? When was it completed? 2018. And we are not halfway in dealing with the recommendations. So we must always think, well, why was it established, for what, and so on. It's our duty to make these things functional, and if they are not functional, it means we are not doing our job. So it's not a question of maybe we are going to ask somebody to make these things functional. We are going to do it. It's up to us to do that, not for us to ask anybody. Honorable Step, you are still on this one.
Yeah,
Seemingly it's a burning issue.
yeah. No, I think, Chair, in our deliberation, we must just get to a point where we see how this fit in with our oversight role. Because despite everything that's happening, there must be oversight over it. And the oversight role is, I think, with this committee, with not this committee, with the JSCI. And we need to clear that out. Where exactly does that fit in? Thank you.
Ambassador, you are still on the floor.
Chairperson, let me ask Dr. Suhul, then I'll wrap up.
Thank you very much, Coordinator. Chairperson, through you. Honourable Chair, you asked a question about the difference between ring fencing the budget and having the budget appropriated by Parliament. We did ponder on that question, Chairperson, and we thought that when you are saying it should be ring-fenced, it will still depend on what Mosanda wants, so they can ring-fence it and they can always have a caveat if it's not a legislated matter to say, let it be done by the parliamentarians, and then we know that once the budget is appropriated, it is not going to be touched and no one will do as they please. This, Honourable Chair, is also linked to the matter that you were just discussing on the issue of appointment of members and things like that, so that the coordinator will not then have an answer that says, we are not going to fulfill your staff requirements this year because we do not have budget. Then we will fulfill your staff requirements next year. But if that budget of the Office of the Coordinator is appropriated, so no one will touch it as they wish because it is actually sacrosanct in that manner. That is what we thought, Chairperson, we mean by that. Then the second question that was asked, Chairperson, by the Honourable Member of the Ad Hoc Committee, Honourable Makwaneshi, Chairperson, was the issue of whether the Minister then will be appointing the PAs. Or will be approving the appointment of PAs. The logic that we use in the proposal, because we didn't want to tamper too much with the proposed inputs, but the logic that we used there by including the coordinator was to say, given that within the service we've got what is called the ministerial delegation of power and direction of payment. So members that are junior in terms of rank, then they are normally appointed at a particular level, say M5, M6. So the coordinator, given that the coordinator is M6 in terms of our structure, then that would mean there are certain positions that he will then approve without even going to the minister in terms of how we do the practice, the ministerial delegation of power. But then those senior ones, then I think that is where we're hoping that the minister can then be consulted and there must be a concurrence in terms of approval. That is probably something that we thought was critical. The rest, Chairperson, we would like to indicate that, as Ambassador would have indicated, his office does not have the legal expertise, unfortunately. So you rely again on Musanda. Sometimes you do not like what you receive, and then you just try to make sense of what is going on. So the issue of may and must was also something that was debated by the team that was looking at the inputs. And the issue was that let us allow the legal brains to explain the must and may, but we are not going to tamper. Where it said may, we left it as it was because we were worried that there are implications in terms of the legal language. So we are very grateful, Chairperson, to your intervention that you will allow the legal brains of the JSCI to assist in this respect. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Those are some of the areas that I thought needed clarification. Thank you.
Ambassador?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. I guess in terms of what we have, what has been proposed here, it will also assist, Chair, in terms of satisfying particularly defense intelligence and sub-CI. Because one of the problems which I found when they were so much reluctant because they felt that it looks like NICOC is more of SSA than the real NICOC. It's part of the committee because everything is done in Musanda, everything Musanda. And the issue of them not wanting to sometimes supply the information, which we dealt with, but it got better with time. It was also based on that because they looked at the office of the coordinator, said, but you are at this level, but everything is done within Musanda. So we just feel that everything is Musanda rather than really accommodating us as sub-CI and defense intelligence. So, Chair, I think moving forward, if really some of these anomalies needs to be corrected so that it can be seen as a real committee, but at least office of the coordinator can be able to take decisions, including the issues of appointment. Thank you very much, Chair.
You say the legal minds of, did you say the legal minds of the committee? We've got two in here. There's another one, Honorable Magwanisa.
Chair, I am uncomfortable with the response that we have received. I think it creates legal uncertainty. If you are going, because it creates some discretion, and from what we have received, it has created a situation where sometimes it has been used not in a manner that benefits NICOC. I think the law should be specific. I mean, because if you have these regulations that is talking about, and then you have a law that says, a legislation that is passed after those regulations, that says the minister must approve. So the minister, another minister may decide that, no, I want to approve everything. I think we must be very certain when we deal with that issue that appointment of staff in the office of the coordinator. I think when the final product, I do think that that power must reside with the coordinator, not the minister approving PAs.
Yeah, yeah. No, Chair, my thinking is, you know, with the little that we might know in law, is that that's why I was a bit worried with the use of the word may, because that doesn't necessarily give you a go-ahead to do it, you know. But I'm thinking of such words as shall, because remember, if you are heading a department and you have this type of powers to do certain things, you may do such things in consultation at the end, but the responsibility lies with you. So I'm looking at these things and say, but these words sometimes they disempower instead of strengthening, the people who must account in that in that position. So I don't know, but it's.
Can I then go to our legal guru there, Nati, on the may, must, shall?
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, we have taken note of the deliberations in the committee, and when we provide advice for purposes of drafting, we will then come up with the appropriate terminology to distinguish between what is peremptory, meaning it's obligatory, and that which is discretionary, which will be just on the use of language and legislation drafting. Otherwise, we've noted the principle which the committee seems to agree as presented by NICOC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. When I look into their eyes, they thought you would say something more than that. But But well, as long as you got the content of the feeling in here, then you will put the appropriate terms in there.
No, thank you, Chair. It's just that, Chair, just to add a little on that, some of the issues raised which talk to independence touch on other legislation which is currently not before, particularly on financial management and reporting. So that's why I'm saying, Chair, we might need time to look at how we would design the requirement so that it meets what is desired by the committee as presented by NICOC. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
In that all legislations are not static, isn't it? So if one leads to the other to be reviewed, that should be taken into account.
That will be done. If there's no other clarifications or questions, I would say that if there's any other thing that you need to insert in here, the office is open. Just write and send it through. And then our legal gurus will deal with it. And can I just say, I was happy about the openness of your presentations. You said exactly what happened without being afraid or without pulling back some punches. And that is exactly what we need, because these things are going to remain there even when we are no more there. And to repeat again, what we saw during some other period was horrible. So over to you if you have any other thing, my ambassador.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Chair. If there's any other thing, Chair, or which we feel we should just be sending to your office, we'll do it through Mamosa here, because she's my chief of staff. So whatever needs to be sent to your office, we'll just do it through that. But let me take this opportunity, Chair, once more, to thank you and members of the committee for giving us this opportunity so that really some of the problems which have been faced by this institution can be corrected, because it's not about us, as you indicated, will be gone, but it might, if these things are not corrected, they might affect the future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Magwanisha. Can you thank may you thank, shall you, must you thank our guests?
No, thank you very much. You have already said it in a much more eloquent way to thank them. I think we have had very good and fruitful engagements. I think the issues you have raised are going to be considered very carefully, but I think you have really contributed in making this bill that we are considering to be better than it would have been. So we'd like to thank you for that. Thank you very much.
I think there's coffee outside. Before you go, you can help yourself and mind the sugar. Thank you very much. We are having another item, members. So it means, do you want 2 minutes to pick on the coffee?
Chairperson, I will have a challenge at 10. I am dealing with reports in the House.
Noted.
Thank you.
5 minutes for members. Thank you very much. We overstayed the 5 minutes. We were supposed to be the second item on the agenda, or the third item, was outstanding minutes. And as I see, we are running short of one member here to make the quorum. And this is an open meeting. Am I telling the whole world that we don't correct? On that note, the meeting is closed. I think it wouldn't be fair to single him out because he came on 2 or 3 occasions, and we've got members that never came. Let's just generalize them. And then maybe we'll discuss that and see how we work it out. This is
What?